I was born a princess, raised to smile behind silken veils and bow before power. When I married Lord Ethan Yan, the Empire's coldest scholar, I believed it was duty, not destiny. He was everything I was taught to fear: ruthless, disciplined, untouchable. Yet behind the marble calm of his eyes, I found something I never expected. The same loneliness that had haunted me all my life. They said our marriage would be a cage. They were right. But they never said we'd learn to hold each other inside it. Now, in a world where loyalty cuts deeper than any sword, I must choose the empire that raised me, or the man who would burn it down for my sake. I married the son of my father's political rival. On our wedding night, his teeth were clenched so hard they clicked. I laughed like a bloom. My life creed up to now, do the exact opposite of Ethan Yan. He hated me, so of course I insisted on marrying him. The Yan household runs itself with strict rules, Ethan said. They cannot tolerate vanity or reckless indulgence. If the princess insists on coming into the family, I can only accept her. I hope in time she will restrain herself and honor our family teachings. Ethan sat across from me with that pale, deadpan face he always wore. Rigid, proper. He had been that way since I was 3. Back then, the Grand Empress Dowager gave me a little rabbit. I lost it during a stroll with my father. I bawled. My father ordered the guards to turn the palace inside out. 10-year-old Ethan scowled, brows drawn. Disturbing the palace over one person is not the conduct of a princess. My father, majestic and loud, had 7 sons in a row before he had me at 40. When I arrived, he cried in the delivery room like a fool. So I am, without question, the only princess in the realm. My father spoils me, I snapped. Mind your own business. I kicked him. Ethan's face darkened. He didn't wipe the black footprint off his robe. He stood there and said slowly and clearly, "Not everyone should be indulged." That was the beginning of our feud. When I came of age, rumors started floating around. The princess has no match. The court ministers suddenly took to falling ill to delay the matchmaking debates. My father sat in a half-empty court for more than 2 weeks, fuming. Through it all, Ethan Yan showed up no matter the weather. One day I picked another fight. I was angry, reckless. "Ethan Yan, how about I marry you? How would that suit you?" He listened without a word, then, deadpan, "By all means, princess, try it." He dared me. Very well, he would pay for it. "I'll tell my father I'll marry Ethan Yan," I declared. In the imperial study, my father laughed like a goose, pacing back and forth. "Ha! Wonderful! Wonderful! I'm sick of that old busybody Yan telling me off every day. Let him taste a little chaos at home." The old busybody was Ethan's father, a white-bearded man who cut into my father's policies at court like a knife. A man who sparred with my father over governance and never backed down. Chaos at home? I froze, expression blank. My father's laugh caught. He chirped like a bird. No, my precious Claire, my golden valued pearl, Ethan Yan is but a minor official, hardly a fit. Better yet, let his father step down. Yes, make way. Let Ethan inherit his father's post. My father's enthusiasm was practically written on his face. With the elder Yan stepping back, the court's remonstrating ministers would lack leadership. My father could finally enjoy some peace. "Claire," he said, tears in his eyes, "don't let your Ethan chatter too much. Just be a good official. Keep your head down. An official who doesn't speak, can you even call him an official?" I had a chopstick in my mouth and one foot propped on a lacquered stool, grinning at Ethan's face. "Lord Yan, I'm sure you're very curious right now. How does one reap what one sows? You know, reap what one sows." He dared me to try. So I would. I wanted to see him flustered. No such luck. Those eyes I'd stared into 1,000 times, eyes I learned to hate to the bone, were as still as an abyss. Even now, in bright red wedding robes and a jade crown, he was unshakably composed. Sometime along the way, Ethan had grown taller than me. Even sitting, I had to look up. "Ethan Yan, why won't you beg?" I pressed, flinging down my chopsticks and stepping closer. "I said it, you kowtow at my residence 3 times properly and respectfully, and I'll let you go." He said, voice cool as iron. Ethan replied, cool as ever. "If the princess makes a joke of her marriage, this humble official will see it through." "You," I pointed so hard my finger nearly poked his eye. "Ethan Yan, this is the princess's manner. You eat my food, wear my clothes, and still dare to show me disrespect. If the princess does not wish to stay here, then come with me to the Yan household, Ethan said, voice unchanged. The Yan family table will feed you just fine. I had expected him to fly into a rage. I had expected insults. I hadn't expected that indifferent shrug. It felt like a fist of cotton hit my chest. My anger boiled hotter for it. I slammed my cup to the floor. Ethan Yan, you want to rebel? I serve the realm faithfully. How could there be rebellion? He replied. I ripped the phoenix crown, the elaborate phoenix crown worn by imperial brides, from my head, tore the wedding robe off, and flung them to the floor. I will take concubines, men, concubines. I refuse this marriage. Never before had I stood half undressed in front of a man. He'd driven me to it. I swept my sleeves and began to leave. A hot hand clamped my wrist. He pulled me back with one smooth motion. I struggled. He held me as if I were a fragile stalk of straw. His eyes were ink-dark. He stood and walked toward me. No Yan descendant may take concubines, he said. I'm not a Yan, I shot back. Ethan's lips curved into the faintest odd smile. The emperor bestowed this marriage. We stood at the altar and became man and wife. You leapt into the fire yourself. Must I teach you how one reaps what one sows? Oh, he had the nerve to turn my words on me. He was usually expressionless. Now there was a rare hint of mockery under the stillness. Something fluttered in my chest. I swallowed it down. Ooh, who told you to instruct me? Let go. I'm going to bed. Ethan blocked the breeze from the window with his back. I wasn't cold, but his palm at my wrist was hot, calluses pressing into the soft inner skin. The touch made my skin prickle. The touch made my skin prickle. Princess, he said, lifting the wedding cup with formal precision. Things begun should be finished. He handed me the cup like a man reciting a rule. I snatched it, impatient, and drank. He drank calmly too. Then he bowed. The princess should retire. I take my leave. Useful, I said, pleased at his retreat, and went for the bed. I had barely taken a step when a strange prickling crawled up the inside of my thigh, an odd tickle that crawled into my chest like a feather. Ethan paused. He looked back. Our gazes met again. My cheeks burned. My heart thudded. In the mirror I saw my face, bright, flushed, showing the first bloom of something dangerous. Suddenly I didn't want him to go. I was used to giving orders. The words slipped out before I could think. Hey, come here. A spark ignited in Ethan's eyes, like the first ember in a winter pile of wood. The princess is certain? He asked. I stamped my foot, not fully understanding myself. I wanted to pull him close. Then what? I didn't know. Ethan answered for me. He looped his arm around my waist, scooped me up and laid me on the bed with a roughness that surprised me. His arms were strong and hot as iron, pinning me down. I couldn't resist. I cried out, pain spilling into tears. A red line appeared on my pale wrist. I had been a pampered pearl all my life, soft skin, fragile. I'd never been handled like this. Ethan Yan, are you mad? The words were weak. Every sensation magnified, pain, itch, a strange molten flutter. When his calloused finger brushed my unscarred spine, a shock ran through me. Even then, even as panic rose, I understood. I bit down and whispered uselessly, "You scoundrel, you drugged me." Ethan kissed me in small, scattered presses. His palm burned like a stove. He paused and looked into me, eyes deep as fire. "Princess, are you determined to send me away?" Determined? I gripped his wrist. The thought of him leaving. What would I do? No, you. My words trailed off. He understood. He nipped my earlobe, breath hot on my skin, and murmured, "You insisted I stay. I will take responsibility." Then he gave me no more chance to speak. The emperor granted Ethan 3 days of wedding leave. On the very first day, he made sure I couldn't walk straight. I cried until my voice went hoarse. Heat burned in my cheeks at the bruises all over me. Shame came in waves. All my life, no one had dared mistreat me. Yet Ethan Yan, my hand went to the dull ache at my hip. My face went hot. I wanted to erase the memory of last night. It was past noon when I woke. Ethan was nowhere to be seen. Had the culprit taken his fill and fled? Or did his conscience prick him and he feel too ashamed to face me? My rustling startled the maid outside. "Your Highness is awake? Shall I?" The bed was a mess. There was a little smear of blood on the sheet. Panic shot through me. I cut her off. "Where is the prince consort?" The maid's voice turned small. "Reporting to your Highness, the prince consort has sent to ask after you several times. He said he would come as soon as you woke." "What?" "I have already sent someone to fetch him." "Don't," I lurched to my feet. Pain shot through my legs and I collapsed off the bed with a cry. Tears sprang up. No, I couldn't see him. Hunched over, I scrambled back, clawing for whatever clothing I could find. I would leave the manor. I would go to the palace. I would hide. Who knew a fit of temper could turn marriage into a death trap? The door swung open. Who allowed you to? I began. Me. That single word froze me. I turned my head slowly. Ethan stepped in wearing dark robes, calm as ever. He shut the door behind him with quiet ease. The steady composure was a sharp contrast to last night's ruthless frenzy. I gave a small, broken sound and burrowed under the quilt, wrapping myself layer after layer, inching toward the far side of the bed. Get out. I was terrified he'd lose control again, terrified he'd pin me down and bully me all over. He ignored me. He came to the bed, bent, reached out. I slapped his hand away. What do you think you're doing? I won't be pushed around again. I will take responsibility, he said. I peeled the quilt open a crack. The marks on my collarbone stretched in a red sweep. My face burned. This is your idea of responsibility? I flinched, pain stinging. Are you a dog? Did you chew me? A shadow passed through his eyes and vanished. He was unreadable again, deep and still. The wine was bestowed by His Majesty. I blinked. My father? I remembered his wild, tear-bright joy when he married me off, and how it looked a breath away from laughter. Yes, my father would do something like that, but I refused to lose ground. How do I know you didn't swap it and dose me? You villain. Ethan sat on the edge of the bed and tugged me out from under the quilt despite my protests. I shrieked, struggling, dodging, calling for help. Help, he's eating me alive. Ethan Yan is eating me alive. My arm hit the bed frame and reddened instantly. Claire, he snapped. Be still. I flinched, biting my lip, eyes filling until tears fell in strings. It was the first time he'd called me by my given name. He always kept his distance, princess in public and private, this humble official for himself. Now, angered, my name slipped out. It sounded intimate. The corner of my little red undergarment peeked from the quilt and fell across his thigh, carrying its faint scent. My head swam. Mortification flared. I remembered how he'd stripped me without mercy last night, how that bright scrap ended crushed in his hand. I made a small sound and, under the covers, my fingers crept toward the ribbon to snatch it back. He lowered his gaze, and just as I was about to succeed, his hand pinched lightly, drew it out without even looking, and dropped it to the floor. Where does it hurt? He had to be doing this on purpose. The garment slipped from my fingers. I clutched the quilt tight. Nowhere. I'm going to the palace. For what? To lodge a complaint before the emperor. Against whom? He asked, though he knew. It made me cry harder. You bullied me. He almost smiled. And how will the princess describe it? How exactly did I bully you? Like this, and then like that. My voice trailed off. How could I say it? I'd be a joke before I got the words out. He waited until I drifted, then caught my ankle and gave a gentle pull. I slid, quilt and all, into his lap. He produced a clear, cool salve from somewhere, scooped a bit out, and with his fingertips spread it along my collarbone. Last night you said it hurt. Here? Or here? His hand passed my waist. The bruises there looked dreadful, as if I'd been abused. I gasped. Heat flared under his touch. My pride scattered. I tucked my face beneath his collarbone and muttered, thin as a thread, "Be gentle. You're a scholar. How are you this rough?" A low laugh rumbled above me. I froze. The great villain laughed, truly a once-in-a-lifetime event. The sound was fine as a hair, drifting into my chest. That odd feeling returned. I didn't dare meet his eyes. When his hand went lower, I yelped. Ethan Yan, I forbid you mustn't. What mustn't I? Don't touch. Don't touch where? Tears spilled. It hurts there. Don't touch, you can't. Just now you said it didn't hurt. It hurts now. His palm, hot and steady, cupped my cheek and brushed away the tears. Pain needs medicine. So on the second day of our marriage, Ethan made me cry again. I understood then, these scholar officials are stubborn to the bone. Once they decide on something, they see it through. No wonder my father had waited and waited for me to marry into the Yan family. Draw the trouble east, let Ethan handle me, then he'd have no time to handle my father. The emperor had given Ethan 3 days' leave. He planned to use the father's retirement and the son's succession to tame the censors. Instead, on the second day, Ethan appeared in full court dress and took the chief censor's seat. Face like an ice mountain, and tore my father's policy draft to shreds. The other censors, seeing they had a pillar again, piled on. My poor father beat a hasty retreat, cut to ribbons. The Yan family's efficiency spoke for itself. Later my father sent someone to ask, sideways, if we'd drunk the wedding toast. I had the messenger thrown out of the princess's residence, horse and all. Men. Not one of them reliable. On the second day after the wedding, I should have gone early to pay respects to Elder Yan. But Ethan had left me sore and weak, unable to walk properly. After that, he never mentioned it. Each night he returned, he began my instruction. He wore me out so badly I forgot half of what I meant to say. That night, when I said I wanted to visit his father, Ethan had finished washing and was halfway out of his robes. He paused, looked over at me, eyes calm. Which father? I sat on the bed in a thin layer, arms around my knees. Yours, of course. My father is the emperor. He held my gaze for a beat, then continued undressing. You're willing? Why wouldn't I be? Ethan, what kind of wife doesn't pay respect to her elders? He shed his outer robe and came over, tall above me. He slipped the hairpin from my hair. The strands fell loose. Then he knelt on the mattress, braced one hand and leaned down, caging me in. His fingers slid into my hair. He bent to kiss me. I tilted my face away, one hand on his chest. Lord Yan, stop! There was already a spark in his eyes. His voice was rough. What is it? I softened my tone, half pleading. You said you'd let me rest tonight. Sometimes being fierce didn't work. If I spoke nicely, he might actually stop. Once, when I had cried and begged for a few days' peace, he agreed, and truly behaved like a gentleman, only sleeping by my side. Ethan studied me for a long moment. A flicker of secret pleasure crossed his eyes. Forgive me, he said, for breaking my word. A man who always kept his word, except tonight. And worse than usual. He asked for my pardon with formal words, and did the opposite. I despised him for it. Yet when I remembered his hard, imperious way, my face burned and I didn't know what to do with myself. Truth was, my arrogance had always rested on my father's and brother's love. Even when Ethan argued me down year after year, I went on as I pleased. Now my lifelong rival had suddenly become the man who governed me, closer than father, grandmother, or my royal brothers. I was like a declawed tiger. Not even a cat. The next day dawned bright. Ethan took me to the Yan residence. It was the first time I met Elder Yan in private. As soon as we stepped through the door, I clutched Ethan Yan's sleeve. With someone like him, rules first, feelings second. I wasn't expecting comfort. He stopped, looked down at the corner of his robe in my fist. Let go. No. I refused to loosen my grip. A sulky grievance rose in me. He had held me and kissed me, yet now he minded even a tug on his sleeve. Ethan sighed. Pulling and grabbing is improper. Then he slid his hand from inside the sleeve and held his palm out to me. His hand was broad, the joints clean and strong. In softer moments, that hand turned my face hot. Now he simply held it out. My mind went blank. I let go of his robe. He turned his wrist and took my free hand, the faint roughness of his calluses warming my skin. Princess, the Yan residence is not a dragon's den, he said, leading me forward. I kept my head down and followed close, afraid he'd see how red my face had gone. I know, I muttered. You don't have to say it. At the main hall doors, Elder Yan stood with his white beard flowing. I spotted him at once. My palm dampened. I wanted to hide behind Ethan. Would he scold me the way he scolded the emperor? If he did, would Ethan shield me? Before I could react, Elder Yan knelt straight and hard. This minister, Ruosang Yan, greets the princess. He was old, but his back was rigid and his voice rang out. His kneel sent a chill of cold sweat through me. I rushed to help him up. Father, please don't, I've married Ethan. From now on I belong to the Yan family. I should be the one to kneel to you. The moment I said it, I felt Ethan's gaze heat at my side. I turned away, heart pounding. Rights between sovereign and subject cannot be discarded, Elder Yan said, shaking his head. Princess, accept this old minister's bow. He was too strong. I couldn't hold him up. I looked to Ethan for help. I could be rude to Ethan, but not to an elder. If I knelt, I wouldn't be able to stand again today. At the critical moment, Ethan stepped in and supported him. Father, he said, the princess is unwell. She cannot stand long. Elder Yan cleared his throat, shot Ethan a glare, and said sternly, Princess, please. Inside, a large table was already set. The three of us dined together, Ethan and I on one side, Elder Yan alone on the other. After the tea was poured, silence fell. No one lifted a chopstick. I glanced at Ethan. He said, "Please, princess." Awkward, I picked up my chopsticks and took a drumstick, my favorite. Then I hesitated, leaned over and placed it in Elder Yan's bowl. Father first. I took a second drumstick, hesitated again. With a small pang, I put it into Ethan's bowl. He looked faintly surprised, then smoothed his face. "My thanks, princess. There are only 2 legs on a chicken." I thought he'd be polite and give it back. Instead, he thanked me. Thanked me. I watched as he set his chopsticks on the bone and lowered his head to take a bite. Clear, composed, annoyingly elegant. A tightness rose in my chest. "Is it good?" He didn't answer. It reminded me of his favorite rule: no talking at table, no talking in bed. Not that he followed the second. In bed, his words grew more and more distracting. He chewed slowly and ignored my expectant stare. Surely one small bite for me wouldn't be too much. I glanced at Elder Yan. His attention was fixed on a bowl of white jade radish soup. Ethan lifted the drumstick again. I darted in, closing the distance between us. My hands braced on his thigh, half my weight on him. His calloused thumb brushed my cheek. He froze. Perhaps he had never been put in such a position in the Yan home, much less in front of his father. Our eyes met. Keeping close, I took the tiniest bite, fearful he'd shove me away. A big bite mark and, next to it, a small one. Chewing, I blinked at him, triumphant. He gave me a cool look and set down his chopsticks. I glared back as I chewed. It was only a small bite. Did he have to act so offended? "Clean hands," Ethan said. A servant came with a basin. My temper spiked. He wanted to wash his hands because he touched my face. He'd touched me plenty before without all this ceremony. While I simmered, Ethan rinsed, then bent to the bowl. With long, deft fingers, he stripped the drumstick into fine shreds, carefully avoiding the places we had bitten. A small white mound of tender meat appeared in my bowl. I stared, my anger slipping away, something warm and nameless curling in my chest. Ethan, for his part, calmly ate the piece I had bitten. Mindful of Elder Yan, I changed my tone. "Husband, I bit that part." "Don't speak while eating," Ethan said, mild as ever. "All right? I know." I ate the chicken he had shredded for me, and my mouth curved without me knowing. From start to finish, Elder Yan pretended blindness, staring into his radish soup and drinking bowl after bowl. The meal ended in deep quiet. At the door, Elder Yan said only one thing: Ethan should examine himself and practice restraint. Ethan bowed. "I will heed Father's teaching." My eyes stung. Elder Yan had seen through him and tapped him with that one line. When I called Ethan villain and traitor, he always said, "This official is no paragon. I dare not claim to be a gentleman." Restraint. Yes, he needed restraint. The Yan residence was close to the princess's manor. On the way back, I still walked behind him. "Hey, do you think Father dislikes me?" I asked. I'd been so tense at the Yan home, afraid of missteps that would offend Elder Yan. Ethan walked ahead, unhurried, not looking back. "Does the princess care so much?" "Of course, he's your father. Yet when you married into this family, you didn't consult him." It was true. My father and I had arranged this marriage together. The Yan family had simply accepted a princess as a daughter-in-law. They even had to sit straighter at meals. Innocent, really. Ethan was stating facts. But I didn't think it was all my fault. If he hadn't provoked me back then, would I have landed in this by mistake? I was used to sparring with him. "So you blame me?" "My meaning," he said, "is that you are a princess. You need not care what others think." The softness in me thinned out. What did he mean? Need not care? Once, I led a group and beat several young noblemen bloody. Since then I'd had a reputation: arrogant, selfish, cold. In Ethan's eyes, I must be the same. Because I was selfish, I didn't need to care. It felt like an insult. He turned. Under the cold, clean moonlight, he was calm as ever. "You saw the Yan family manners. You were uncomfortable inside that house. I doubt you wish to suffer that in the future." "What are you saying?" My voice chilled. "That I shouldn't come to the Yan home?" He opened his mouth, then, after a long moment, seemed to give up on something. "Yes. What kind of daughter-in-law is told not to visit her husband's family?" My voice rose, sharp in the empty street. "Do you think my marriage is a child's game?" He went silent and stared at me, as if seeing through me. "Isn't it? Isn't it? A game." The words detonated in my mind. So that's what he thought of me all along. If to him my marriage was a game, then all those nights he held me and called me Claire, what were they? Duty? Play acting? Ethan Yan, how can you say that? Before I entered the bridal chamber, he said, what did you say? Do you remember? How would I remember? I said cold. You said an engagement can be broken, a marriage can be ended, at worst you can cast me off. If I treat you poorly, you'll leave. His memory was a blade. I had tossed those words off. He had kept them. Rage tightened my jaw. And if I grow tired of this, where will you send me? No matter where you are, he said, I will take responsibility. Responsibility, responsibility, I shouted. Is that all you can say? I shouldn't have expected anything else from this man. My eyes were hot. I took those beatings back then for you. I ruined my name for you. If you'll be responsible to the end. I ignored the shock in his eyes and stormed back to the princess's residence. Unreasonable man. If I hadn't seen him standing there in that alley, quiet and stubborn as others bullied him, would I have lost control and beaten those young lords? I threw myself onto the bed, sick with anger. I rolled and waited. He didn't come. A maid called from outside. There was an urgent summons from the palace. The prince consort has entered the palace. Perfect. He was avoiding me. I packed all of Ethan's clothes into a bundle. After a moment's cursed pity, I tossed in a box of fine tea. Then I called for the servants. From today, the prince consort sleeps in the study. That may not be proper, a servant stammered. What's improper? Since when did my princess's residence change its surname to Yan? Yes, I'll see to it at once. He bolted like the wind. Slow down, I snapped, stepping into the doorway. Don't spill the tea. I waited left and right. Ethan vanished like mist. Another day passed. I heard he really was sleeping in the study. The more I thought, the more I fumed. I slammed my books shut and marched straight there. He sat inside, surrounded by stacks of memorials. A clay pot of tea steamed on the desk, fragrance soft in the air. I lifted my skirt over the threshold and gritted out, crude quarters. Is Lord Yan comfortable? He set down the document. Thank you for your concern, princess. All is well. The warm tea scent made him look like a line from a poem, a humble hut made noble by virtue. Fury roared through me. I strode up, shoved the memorials into a jumble, wrecking his neat categories, and sat on the desk looking down at him. All is well? He leaned forward suddenly, big hand locking around my waist. Heat burned through the thin fabric, making me shiver. His hand slid down my back. What are you doing? I yelped. Broad daylight. The chief censor, groping someone? He didn't answer. His hand dipped lower, then lifted. I clutched his shoulders and bit my lip with a soft sound as he tugged something free beneath me. I glanced down. A memorial, ink, not yet dry, now smudged into a black mess. My skirt! I started to jump down, only to find my waist pinned to the desk. Ethan glanced up at me. Forgive the offense, princess. Offense. It was outrageous. Villain! Take your hand off me! I tried to pry him loose. He didn't budge. He held me there, forcing me to sit on the desk and face him. He in the chair, me on the edge, nearly eye to eye. Princess, he said, that memorial took me half an hour. I laughed, furious. Oh, Lord Yan has such composure. With the house on fire, you still write every stroke and dot. What house on fire? Do I not look like one? I snapped. He fell quiet and looked at me, unreadable. After a long beat, his mouth curved. You must be very skilled at writing reap what you sow, princess. I could have choked. So that was it, mocking me for banishing him to the study only to suffer alone. I grabbed his perfectly folded collar. Give me back the tea. He lifted a brow. It's gone. What do you mean, gone? I drank it, he said, perfectly solemn. Liar. One day, and he drank an entire box? I balled my fist and thumped his chest. You dare lie to me? Please, search. Since he offered, I didn't hold back. I yanked up his sleeve and felt inside. Nothing. I pulled his collar open and slid my hand in, only hard muscle. My face went hot. Villain, where is it? His sleeves wrinkled into a mess. His collar was a disaster. A broad stretch of chest showed. His gaze darkened. His grip on my waist tightened. I gasped. Claire, he said softly. I told you. I drank it. Shame flared. If you drank my tea, why don't you come back to our room? The words burst out. I slapped a hand over my mouth. Idiot. Why did I say that? Ethan stood. The angle changed. Now he looked down at me, caging me against the desk. Understanding flickered in his eyes. So that's what the princess wants. It is not. Don't flatter yourself. He drew closer. His clean scent wrapped around me. I had grown used to it, maybe even greedy for it. Unfortunately, he said, you ruined my memorials. I can't return yet. He slid an arm around my waist and turned me, bracing me between him and the desk, my back to him. Pinned, I shifted, flustered. Let me go. When the princess sorts the memorials, I will. The papers were a wreck. I couldn't read a word, much less sort them. I can't. Oh, he murmured. Then you'll have to accept punishment. Punish me? How dare you? I thrashed and shrieked to no avail. He pushed 2 memorials into my hands. Sort, he ordered. At first I argued with bravado, soon it turned to pleading. Don't, no, not here. I have time and energy, Ethan said, voice even, the kind of voice no outsider could fault. When you finish sorting, perhaps you can write a few on my behalf. Inside the study, the scene was different. The next morning, I woke on the small couch in the study, a light quilt over me. I moved and soreness seeped through my limbs. I lifted the quilt, clothes on all tidy, and staggered to the desk. My eyes searched the room, no trace. The memorials I'd scattered were gone. So was the pen that had fallen from my weak fingers. The desktop gleamed, spotless. I let out a breath. No need to burn the place down after all. Thinking of those unspeakable traces, my breath quickened and my face heated. At least Ethan confined his madness to private. He was always good at cleaning up. Princess, shall the prince consort sleep in the study again tonight? I eyed the immaculate desk and chairs, shivered, and shook my head, blushing. No. Lock the study. I'm never going in there again. It was past noon. He was surely at court. I ate, watched the sky, and finally blurted, "Why isn't the prince consort back yet?" Reporting to the princess. The prince consort is at the crossroads, arguing with men from the Pingnan Marquis' residence, Pinamborfu. What, arguing? I was stunned. Ethan Yan, the Ice Mountain, arguing with someone? How could there be a rare spectacle without me? Quick, saddle the horses. I'm going to save the prince consort from trouble. I sounded righteous. Inside, I was gleeful. We galloped to the road by the city gate where Ethan Yan left court. From a distance, I saw him, back straight, standing under the arch, speaking evenly with the Pingnan Marquis' son. I slipped closer and hid behind a stall. The Marquis's son was sneering. You dared marry that woman Claire Salm? You must be desperate to live off a woman. This young Master Nan from the Pingnan Marquis' residence, Pinan Bufu, was the one who once cornered Ethan in an alley. I broke the most bones on him that day. Ethan's voice was mild. Wanting to live off someone doesn't mean one is able. I almost laughed out loud. Ethan's barbs, I knew them well, but I'd never seen him turn them on anyone but me. Young Master Nan snapped. Don't you hate her most? What, did she please you in bed? Ethan's calm face cooled. He stepped forward. He was a head taller, his presence so cold, even I had never seen it like this. The other man recoiled 2 steps. What did I say wrong, if not for her tricks? Young master, Ethan said, voice flat, that begonia coral your honored mother offered the palace last month looked rather valuable. Shall I remind His Majesty to investigate its provenance? Nan paled. What begonia coral? I'm talking about Claire. Insulting the royal family will go in my memorial as well, Ethan said, cold. When your father learns why he's being impeached, it will be quite a scene. Ethan Yan, don't go too far. Who's gone too far? Ethan folded his sleeves against the wind, tall and steady. A few words and Nan's color changed. My duty breeds enemies, I hear filth daily, I don't care. But one thing is non-negotiable. Do not drag family into it. The princess is my closest kin. Anyone who slanders her will answer to me. I clapped a hand over my mouth. The street vendors stared as I stamped twice and spun in a circle, giddy. There was no sight lovelier than Ethan Yan standing beneath the tavern eaves, facing the world for me. Young Master Nan slunk off, staggering like a beaten dog. He shook his fist as he went. Wait for me, Ethan Yan. Ethan's mouth curved, chill and thin. I await your visit. I knew Nan would play dirty again. If Ethan suffered because he stood up for me, what then? Hidden in the corner, I whispered, Charles. A shadow appeared at my side. Charles, the hidden guard my father assigned to me. Tie him up again, I said. This time you hold him. I'll do the beating. Ethan Yan is mine. Whoever crosses him, crosses me. Last time Charles overdid it, and the Pingnan household had to summon a bone setter. Better to do it myself. No time like the present. Charles dragged Nan into an alley. Bag over the head, ropes tight, shoved him down. I hefted the cudgel I'd brought, thick as my arm, and swung. Charles had taught me. Aim for the rear. The alley filled with howls. I got to 7, 8, and still wasn't satisfied. I raised the stick for a ninth when a wail sounded from the mouth of the alley. "Young master! Where are you?" The burlap sack buzzed. Arms and legs thrashed. Here, here." I dropped the stick. "Charles, run! Someone's coming." I spun and bolted deeper into the maze. Charles followed, silent. He was a master. I never worried about him. He simply hated touching people. In a getaway, I had to manage myself. Behind us, Nan shouted, breathless and angry. "They were just here. Catch him for me." I stuck out my tongue and ran, skirts bunched in my fists. Left, right, turn, until the alley mouth appeared ahead. Footsteps closed in. I panicked, tripped on a stone, and cried out. A strong hand hooked my waist and hauled me into a narrower lane. Our pursuers thundered past. I fell into a broad, iron-solid chest. The scent was familiar. I looked up. "Ethan Yan, what are you doing here?" Wasn't he headed home? Yet here he was at the alley mouth, back against the wall, holding me fast. "How much did you hear?" His eyes pinned me like a tutor testing a pupil. "Hear what?" I played dumb, eyes darting. His face didn't change. "I'll ask again, how much of what he said did you hear?" "Nan's filth?" I shook my head, guilty, avoiding his gaze. "I didn't hear anything." "Then why did you come out of that alley?" Why did he have so many questions? "I was strolling," I said loftily. "As I please." "Then I suppose," he said, voice like ice, "you strolled into an alley where the Pingnan heir was being beaten." "How do you know?" "Claire," his tone cracked sharp. "Do you ever think about consequences?" I flinched. "What consequences?" He held me, jaw set. "Do you truly think the Pingnan house is easy prey? Without backing, he wouldn't dare shout your name in the street. The Pingnan Marquis already gives His Majesty a headache. Why add to it?" I knew how powerful that house was. But I had my reasons. I hadn't shown my face. How could it trace back to me? "Easy prey or not, I already did it," I said, stamping. "What will you do? Punish me?" "I did it for you. If it were anyone else, I wouldn't care." "And you don't even appreciate it." He was struck silent, then said, bitter and low, "Yes, I cannot do anything to you. I am the one person in this world who cannot do anything to you." He released me and turned away. A jolt ran through me. I chased him, catching the tail of that last sentence. "What do you mean? Say it clearly." His face was winter cold. For the first time I saw raw emotion there. He was angry. I grabbed his sleeve and tugged. He stopped, letting me hold on. When he still didn't speak, I bit my lip and muttered, "Awkward. I couldn't just watch him beat you." He turned half toward me, looking down. "Princess, fists don't solve problems. There are always better ways." Always better ways. He'd told me that my whole life, every time I acted on impulse. And yet the Pingnan house still stood. I, as a princess, would suffer only words. Ethan, a scholar official, had nowhere to file a complaint when bullies struck. I was tired of hearing it. "What is the better way? Let him hit and curse you while you swallow it? He can bully anyone, but not you." He faltered, then shut his eyes and exhaled, anger ebbing like a man resigning himself. At last he took my hand and drew me toward home. "Don't do this again." As long as Nan didn't cause trouble, I had no interest in him. I opened my mouth, then swallowed my retort. "Fine, Lord Yan." A few days later the word spread. Ethan impeached the Pingnan house at court. Sharp words, no mercy. He even dug out the source of that begonia coral. Afterward, young Master Nan reportedly couldn't get out of bed thanks to his father. Only then did I understand. So that was the better way. I propped my chin and stared out the window. I suddenly missed him. I sighed. Half a jar of candied dates sat on the table, walnut shells scattered everywhere. "Shall I keep cracking?" the maid asked, small hammer in hand. The clay jar beside her was full of fragrant walnut kernels, plump and perfect. "Where's the prince consort?" It was the umpteenth time this month. Busy with state affairs, still at the palace. My father hadn't found me a son-in-law. He'd found himself a free laborer. I scooped up the jar. "We're going to the palace." I found Ethan in the warm side chamber next to the imperial study. Memorials towered before him. He was immaculate, not a trace of fatigue, as if he weren't the one who'd been gone for days. My father had a heart of stone. He was going to work Ethan to death. I set the walnut jar down with a thump. "Lord Yan, did you forget? After I married, I moved out of the palace." Before he could answer, I gasped in mock shock. "No. Don't tell me you forgot the princess no longer lives here, or that you forgot you're married?" He put down his brush, massaged his brow and sighed. His Majesty prepares a southern inspection tour. There is much to arrange. A southern tour. My interest sparked. I'm going too. A tour is for observing the people's lives, he said, shaking his head. The princess need not go. If you're going, why can't I? I have no time to escort you to sightsee, he said, calm gaze steady. Besides, this is His Majesty's wish. So you weren't gonna tell me? No. You plan to leave the capital without a word? He watched me for a long moment. The princess is perceptive. I saw red. I stormed to my father. He was dining in Consort Rue's apartments. The table was half cleared. A square of jade-green tofu clung to his beard, quivering. Consort Rue stood at once. Oh dear, I left the ginseng soup on the stove. I'll fetch it. My father clutched her sleeve. No need, I'm full. Sit, sit. Smiling, she pried his fingers off one by one, through her teeth. Perfect. A palate cleanser. I slapped the table. The two of you ganged up to bully me. Consort Rue shot out the door like an arrow. My father wiped the tofu from his beard and forced a smile. Claire, when did I ever bully you? I'm going on the tour, I said, fire in my eyes. You won't let me. My father's beard twitched. He sat me down and spoke earnestly. It's not me, it's Ethan. The South is unsettled. He forbids it for your safety. If something happened to my only daughter. How long will you be gone? A fortnight at least. Half a year at most. You'll have everything you... I don't care. I'm going with Ethan. No, not even 2 weeks. He looked as if he wanted to laugh but didn't dare. I promise, I'll bring Ethan back safe and sound. Claire's grown up. She worries for her husband. I do not. You two are pushing me back and forth. Neither of you wants me. Nonsense, he cried. You are my most beloved. If no one else wants you, I do. I shook his arm. Then take me with you. Sweat beaded on his brow. Ethan fights as hard as his father. Don't throw me into the fire pit. So it was Ethan, scheming behind my back. I leaned in and whispered, bring me. I'll handle Ethan for you. His beard quivered. Ridiculous, I am the son of heaven. Why would I fear him? I smiled, thin and dark. Are you not afraid he'll say you tour the South to chase beauties? His face froze. Not afraid he'll force you to read memorials at midnight? His hands shook. Not afraid he'll make you eat vegetables 3 times a day? His chopsticks stabbed the braised pork in front of him. Bring ink, he barked. He scrawled a few lines, thrust a writ into my hand, and waved me away like a thief. Go, quickly. Don't bring your husband here. I glanced at it. He'd written so fast it barely looked like his hand. Hide it, he said as I left. Hide it. Don't let him see. Consort Rue re-entered with the soup, smiling bright. The princess is leaving? Goal achieved, I smiled back. Forgive the late disturbance, Your Highness. She bobbed her head like a drum. No disturbance at all. She walked me to the door. The moment I stepped over the threshold, it slammed shut and a bolt slid home, as if she'd seen a ghost. At the palace gate, a boy in gray rushed up. Princess, the chief censor sent me to escort you home. Ethan sent you? I widened my eyes. How kind of him. Or not. He probably wanted me locked in my rooms forever. I remembered the writ tucked in my sleeve and brightened. Find out when Lord Yan returns. I have something to say. I swept back to the princess's residence and spread the writ on the entrance table so it would be the first thing he saw. Night fell. No Ethan. I blinked and the sun was high. The thin paper lay exactly where I'd left it. He hadn't come home. A prickle crawled up my spine. Where's Ethan? The southern tour departs today, the servant said, loyal and grave. The chief censor goes with His Majesty. He left from the palace. What, today? I shrieked. Why didn't anyone tell me? I yanked open the wardrobe. Half his robes were gone already. Even his seal was missing. He'd planned this. He dared to outmaneuver me. Fine. Where are they now? Just outside the city. The princess could still catch them. I didn't pack. I spurred my horse and flew. On the road beyond the walls, a voice drifted from an understated, luxurious carriage, my father's, uncertain and guilty. My good minister, if Claire learns I took your advice and tricked her, will she forgive me? Ethan's voice was steady as ever. The princess's safety outweighs all. Yes, you're right. He's right, I said. Yes, very. The words cut off. My father's face popped out of the carriage, stricken. Claire. Through the lifted curtain I saw Ethan's shoulders go rigid. I bared my teeth. Doesn't it hurt, father, bending your arm so far out of the sleeve for another man? A double agent. My father excelled at everything. He ducked back and sighed. My good minister, came his voice, I must be cruel. A married daughter is like water spilled. Your wife is your business. Ethan pushed out of the carriage, frost clinging to him. He seized the reins, sprang, and landed behind me on my horse, his chest pressed to my back, his hands closed over mine on the leather. His heartbeat thudded like a drum against my spine. Shock still scrambled my thoughts. You're awfully fit. Didn't the princess already know? Ambiguous. He urged the horse forward. The carriage is ahead. I'll put you inside. You're not sending me back? The column has departed, he murmured at my ear. We cannot halt it for one person, and if I sent you back, would you go? His breath stirred my hair. The feelings I'd been smothering rose, sudden and hot. I twisted the horse's mane into a tight rope. You should have done this in the first place. I lost a whole night. Silence, then softly, the princess could have kept her rest. I bristled. Oh, if you don't bring me, who will you bring? A southern beauty? You might even bring one back. I knew his family code. He was strict, restrained. He would never take a concubine. Even if he felt nothing for me, he would do his duty. But I wanted to goad him, force him to say something real. He reined in, swung down, and lifted me off as if I weighed nothing, one hand under my hips, the other at my back. Blood rushed to my head. I was the Empire's cherished princess. Being carried in public like this, I burned with shame. Put me down. Perhaps the princess does not know, he said, voice like iron. The southern roads are dangerous. If you insist on coming, I must guard your safety. If you will not behave, do not blame me for being impolite. He tossed me into the carriage. I knew his strength. If he meant to tie me down, I'd do nothing but cry. Shameless. I kicked at him. Enough. His face darkened. He pressed me to the couch. In the capital, the emperor spoils you. I protect you. You may play. The southern tour is not a game. Those corrupt officials kill with smiles and knives. If you don't want to die, behave. His words shook me, but I still wanted to see what corrupt officials looked like. I was born in velvet. I didn't know the price of rice and oil, yet I knew people live on grain. Over the years, I had quietly saved silver, distributing porridge, repairing homes. My father worried himself gray over drought in the east, floods in the south. I could only give money, pour the taxes from my fief straight into hungry mouths. Money, I believed, could fix everything. If it didn't, there wasn't enough of it. Now I wondered, did that river of silver really reach where it should? I never announced my donations. Good deeds lose flavor once bragged about. Only my father knew I was a fat purse, handing him packets of notes as needed. In the carriage, Ethan didn't look at me. He warmed a hand stove and set it in my palms, then poured me water. I want plum pastries. No, he said curtly. Golden dates? No. What about the walnuts I cracked for you? No, I thumped his chest. What do you have? He caught my fist and folded me into him, weary. Rest, princess, I have nothing. I struggled, then stilled. A gust lifted the curtain, light skimming his face. Was that a shadow under his eyes? He was always pale, fastidious, reliable. Now, close up, he looked a little worn. Had he truly not slept? I shut my mouth. Drowsiness crept in. My head dipped against his wide shoulder, then settled there. Ethan, I'm sleepy. Warmth, faint but real, colored his voice. I'm here. Sleep. I woke to the swaying of the carriage. It was dim. I still sat in Ethan's lap. His arms circled me. One palm cupped my waist, heat seeping through cloth into my bones. I sprawled on his chest like an octopus. I had drooled on him. Ethan's eyes were closed, head tipped against the wall. His lashes cast long shadows. He was beautiful. Peel away all his sins, and his face pleased me. Mind sharpened like a blade, body strong. My cheeks flared. I didn't know what I was thinking anymore. Ethan's cool eyes opened and met mine. A trace of sleep still softened them. He didn't speak for a breath. I tore my gaze away, terrified he'd catch the flicker of feeling I hadn't dared name. When did the princess wake? Fresh woken, his voice was rough. My bones melted. Not long. Silence thickened. I shot to my feet, cracked my head on the carriage roof, and tears sprang to my eyes. Ethan sighed, sat me back down, and rubbed my forehead. Your impulsiveness needs correcting. Enough. Stop. I muttered. I've hated your lectures since we were kids. Unlucky for you. If nothing changes, the princess will spend the rest of her life with me. His tone was mild, a thin ache rippled through me. Maybe I liked him. After all our years of bickering, I liked him? While I stared, he drew out a map and studied it. What's that? I leaned in. River South City defenses, he said without looking up. You know this kind of thing? He raised his eyes, unreadable. A censor remonstrates on all matters under heaven. If he understands only half, he's unfit for the post. My mind went pleasantly blank. A serious man is dangerously attractive. If you like military affairs, I said, you could have taken a command. Why bury yourself among old men, trading barbs? He paused, then said lightly, Princess, a prince consort may not hold military power. That is the rule. I froze. Had I known that, I'd never have ruined his prospects. Ethan was born into a strict, honorable house, clever since boyhood, handsome, blessed with my father's favor. Matchmakers had worn down the Yan threshold by the time he turned 20. Father used to say Ethan was a statesman in the making, a future pillar of the realm. Realizing I'd cost him that, a sour pain rose in my chest. Why learn my mistake, just as I began to care? I'm sorry, I whispered, voice shaking. Surprise flashed in his eyes. Seeing my rims redden, he moved, uncharacteristically flustered, and wiped my tears. I don't blame you. Why not? His gentleness only made the hurt worse. The tears fell. You ruined your reputation for me. Of course I married you, he said softly, so that was it. Not love, duty. I don't take debts, I said, dull. When we return, we'll part by mutual consent. Be the general you should have been. Keep your name, I don't need you to repay mine. His gentle expression went rigid. What did you say? Parting amicably. I thought he was moved. You're free. Say that again, I heard his molars grind. Par. Claire Song. He bit out my full name. I flinched. Why are you? Flame leapt in his eyes. He hooked an arm at my waist and with one hand hauled me into him. I married you. There will be no dismissal, no amicable parting. End that thought. I refused to believe it was love. It had to be, that wretched sense of responsibility. I was still reeling when he said, Have you considered what you'll tell our child, that he has no father? It's been days, I scoffed. How can you be sure of a hit on the first try? The look he gave me was dangerous, one I knew too well. He always wore it right before he tormented me into tears. I panicked and struck first. So that's why you won't part? Because of future children. I'm just a machine to breed your heirs. Claire, he murmured, pinching my chin. You know what I mean, don't twist it. Then he lowered his head and kissed me. Hearing my name from his mouth, intimate, coaxing, was perilous. The carriage rocked. He pulled back quickly, but my lips still throbbed. I sagged into him, swinging my feet idly. I remembered sitting like this on grandmother's lap once. Ethan had scolded me for my improper posture. Now I beamed at him from his lap. Didn't you hate this pose? How does it feel to try it yourself? Between husband and wife, he said evenly, nothing is beyond the pale. Hypocrite. A double standard in human skin. Still, I liked that he was biased, toward me. The thought turned sour. If you'd married someone else, would you hold her like this? Whisper these things to her? A death question if there ever was one, he chuckled. The princess is jealous of her servant? Don't be absurd. Jealous of you? As if. My mother was an ordinary woman of the capital, he said. Gaze quiet. She and my father respected each other all their lives. He worked from dawn to midnight. Most nights she waited alone for the lamps to burn out. At 30, she fell ill and died. Yon men for generations have done their duty to the Son of Heaven, and failed their wives and children. If the princess hadn't insisted on this marriage, I might never have taken a wife. Then who continues the Yan line? A thin smile warmed his eyes. The princess saved me from fire and water. I am most grateful. I'd always found his words barbed. I hadn't expected them to turn sweet in my ears. Sir, the mountain road ahead is muddy. Landslide risk. Shall we detour? Came a voice from outside. What's that to you? I bristled. You're the chief censor, not their errand boy. Are they ordering you around? I rolled up my sleeves to go argue with those book-fed scarecrows. Ethan stopped me. Wait, I'll go. Why? Since when does anyone command my prince consort? I sprang up. I'll kill them. He gathered me in and sealed my protest with a kiss. By the time he let me go, my head was spinning. He was 25, I remembered suddenly, stern by nature, mouth full of duty. People didn't like him for it. While the idle heirs of the capital chased cats and flirted with maids, he shouldered burdens in silence. Pride swelled in me. This man was mine. I flopped face down on the couch the moment the curtain fell, rolled around like I'd fallen into a honey jar, and grinned till my cheeks hurt. My father traveled incognito this time. No ladies in waiting, rough meals and open skies. I thinned visibly in days. My round cheeks sharpened into a pretty, heart-shaped face with a constant hint of languor. It suited me far too well. He sighed whenever he looked at me. "Claire, I want a grandson." "You too." I rolled my eyes. Ethan gave the same answer each time. "I will do my utmost." He certainly did, relentlessly. Otherwise, I wouldn't have slimmed down so fast. He claimed I'd been coddled and needed strength training. I had not imagined the method. In public, righteous gentleman. In private, beast. With a light guard, we made quick time and reached Cujo in under a fortnight. We disguised ourselves as merchants from the capital and entered slowly. By the lakeside, Wu dialect songs drifted on a warm wind. Pleasure barges lined the water. Slim-waisted girls hugged their peepas and sang. I tugged Ethan's sleeve. "That girl in blue, best voice. I'll take you to hear her later." "Music isn't my field," he said, eyes on the road. "I'm used to your soft sounds. No need to change them." When did I? I stopped, realized, and went scarlet. "You? Shameless. In what way?" he asked blandly. "How can you say things like that?" "I don't understand. Please instruct me." He always wore that polished restraint that left me tongue-tied. Once my temper had kept me swinging fists. Now, he seemed to enjoy fencing words. He earned his keep with that tongue. I couldn't win there, and I had no chance with my hands. He had me pinned every time. While I plotted a way to best him, Cujo's prefect arrived. "Why's a local official staring at us?" I went to lift the curtain. Ethan pulled me back. "Rich traders from the capital?" he murmured. "Rats have sharp noses for change." "Cujo looks rich and peaceful to me. People seem happy. The prefect's doing fine. You censors always assume the worst." "Don't be the sort who gets sold and counts the money for the seller," he said. An instant later, a rough voice oozed in. "Honored guests, you've traveled far. This humble official has prepared beverages, banquets of the finest. Allow me to introduce Cujo's local customs." I saw red. Ethan, for all his starch, was young and handsome. Parade him down the avenue and lovesick girls would pelt him with scented sachets. No one was going to introduce customs to him on my watch. "Oh, beauties," came a merry voice from the next carriage, my father. "Beauties are good. I, Master Huang, adore beauties. Ha ha ha." My teeth squeaked. Ethan's arm wrapped around me, holding me back from vaulting the fence to throttle my father. On another's turf, the local snake rules. If we deny him, none of us leave quietly. Your father is playing along. Away from the capital, he called him what he was. Yes, the emperor had claws. Still, what father drags his son-in-law to a brothel? If I hadn't come, the image of those two swaggering in arm, would have haunted me for life. "In your household?" Prefect Wang Mian asked. "My wife's at home," my father said eagerly. "With me are my daughter and son-in-law." "Ah, a son-in-law." Wang Mian hesitated. "That may be inconvenient." "It's fine." Father was one step from swearing brotherhood. "My daughter is broad-minded. A little music never hurt anyone." I crushed the cake in my hand. As usual, he sold me out with a smile. "And the son-in-law?" Wang Mian probed. I fixed Ethan with a look that promised murder if he misspoke. He did not blink. "My wife is clingy," he said calmly. "If the official will indulge me, I'll bring her along." Satisfied, Wang Mian had horses led to guide us to his residence. "What if we'd refused?" I whispered. Ethan's fingers squeezed my waist. His men ringed us tight. "Refuse, and we die in a ditch." I remembered his earlier warning on the road and knew he hadn't been scaring me. The danger was real. He'd wanted me safe in the capital, for me. Warmth pooled in my chest. Outside, Wang Mian's home looked shabby. Inside, it glittered. Gold and jade crowded every surface with no taste at all, just price tags. A garden backed onto the water, packed with painted girls. Lanterns bloomed. Songs rose. A kingdom of soft decadence. The game was clear, whether capital official or merchant prince, if you were someone, you were feasted and entertained. Discover a man's weakness, and you could lead him anywhere. Cujo's injustices drowned in back alleys, unseen and unremarked. From the high seat, Wang Mian let his gaze drag over my face and smiled. "The young lady is prettier than the best of my concubines. Your good fortune, son-in-law." I liked flattery. His curdled in my ears. Ethan's arm tightened around me. "My wife is the love of my life," he said. "The one I would guard with my life." He was really speaking to Wang Mian, hands off, but my heart banged anyway. It was the first time he'd said he loved me. clearly, in front of others. Wang Mian laughed and waved it aside. Master Huang, let me show you a treasure, he clapped. Heirs, play for our guests. A hem of blue slid from behind a screen, the pipa girl from the barge. My father's eyes went soft. He drank and grinned. Aries' gaze floated like silk, skimming the crowd, settling at last on Ethan. She sat, half a chair's width from him, set the pipa across her lap, and plucked a sweet, hooking prelude. My nose went hot. Ethan clapped a handkerchief to my face. Compose yourself, wife. Mortified, I pressed the cloth and hissed, You're not allowed to look. He glanced at my very red, very damp handkerchief and chuckled. I haven't bled. For all my knowledge of music, I had to admit Aries was good. Good enough to make her a court musician if she played in my hall. But she was being naughty, like a spider casting silk. If I weren't there, she'd have cocooned Ethan and hauled him off. Wang Mian meant to gift her to Master Huang, but the girl plainly preferred fresh bloom to winter frost. After 3 rounds of wine, he said as much. Father demurred a few times, then took Aries to the side courtyard Wang had assigned us. Side courtyard meant 2 rooms and a wall a chicken could clear. Summoned away by the prefect's wife to admire the view, I returned to find Aries flirting with Ethan in our yard. My heart's beating so fast, she breathed. Touch it, my lord. She flipped a gauze edge to bare a shining shoulder and fluttered straight at him. Ethan slid aside, frigid. You honor me, miss, but I have a wife. I'm not your good match. Thwarted, she twisted her waist and trailed him, eyes wet. When I saw you, I yearned. Even if your lady is jealous, I don't mind being a concubine. Oh, I stepped through the gate and smiled like a knife. Calling yourself a concubine before you've served me tea? She squeaked, stumbled, and fell, then pushed up, still dew-eyed. My lord. Ethan cupped his hands to me, face warming. I've been waiting for you. Miss Aries must be drunk and lost her way. Her eyes went cold. I met them, then let my own brim with tears. I whimpered and fell into Ethan's arms, wrapping his waist. Husband, will you stop loving me if you take Aries? If there's one thing I excel at, it's acting spoiled. Since childhood, a few tears brought emperors, queens, and princes to their knees. I'd never tried it on Ethan. I'd always been too mad at him. His heartbeat pounded. I heard every thud where my cheek lay. I almost grinned. When, he said, voice low, did I say I would take her? Lip trembling, eyes swimming, I looked up. Husband, you won't? His mouth was a thin line. Under my damp, pleading gaze, he said slowly, no. I turned to Aries, wiped a tear with one finger, and smiled like victory. You can bat your lashes, so can I. Can you punch my husband? I can. She pointed, lips white, shaking. You. If you're useless, why feed you? My temper, long held, flared. If I hadn't come, what then? Moonlit tag in the courtyard? I was sent by Lord Wang, Aries snapped. If you dislike me, tell him yourself. A leech. Hard to shake. I crouched and straightened her robes with a gentle hand. Sweetheart, your room is next door. Not possible, came a furtive whisper over the fence. My father's face peeked through the lattice. I can't take her home. It's a life. In the palace, a fool like Aries wouldn't last a day. So that was his excuse for tossing her at Ethan? Girl, Ethan said, unhurried, if you want a way out, you'll need to tell us a few things. What followed was a neat duet. Ethan and my father tapping and pressing, I glowering with a metaphorical knife, until Aries broke. You can't bully me like this, she sobbed. What is wrong with your family? Lord Wang only told me to sniff out your secrets. Why do all of you want me dead? She pointed at my father. You braggart! Home in the imperial city? Step in and you die. Father's whiskers trembled. Perish the thought. She jabbed at Ethan. Pretty boy coward, you listen to whatever she says? Henpecked, spineless. Ethan took my hand, solemn. I respect and obey my wife out of love, not fear. The lady misunderstands. Her eyes rolled. She pointed at me. And you, what about me? I planted fists on hips and strutted, giddy on his words. My husband dotes on me and does as I say. What can I do about it? Bite him. Aries burst into louder tears. You didn't have to repeat it. In time, she told her story. Born to scholars, she was betrothed, wedding set for spring in Tongzhou. Then the summer floods hit. Rivers swelled. Tongzhou drowned, 9 parts in 10. The people starved. Her fiancé opened his granary, and the prefect bled it dry, then emptied the house at night. She set out to find him, was robbed by refugees, learned on the road he'd died. She tried to go to the capital to petition. Wang Mian intercepted her. At first he said he'd seek justice for me, impeach the Tomjo prefect, she said, wiping her face. Then I learned they're two hands of the same body. All the disaster funds for Tomjo were sent here. He said, wait for the rivers to freeze in winter, build then to save half the silver. My head rang. I'd poured money toward the Tomjo floods. I thought of the gaudy horde in Wang Mian's halls and shot to my feet. I'll kill that swine. Ethan caught my arm. It's the middle of the night. Kill whom? I wanted his head for a ball. I'd pinch coins for months. No plum cakes, no crispy buns, no braised pork, no squirrel fish, and funded a golden night pot for that turtle spawn. Aries choked. My poor fiancé, robbed of everything, staggered here and starved to death outside the walls. My father's face went the color of iron. By our law, when Tomjo floods, neighboring Kuzhou must open porridge lines and take in refugees. How did he starve to death? Aries' smile was bitter. You joke, my lords. You live in the capital. Out here the sky is high and the emperor far. A few weaponless poor dying never reach his majesty's ears. She didn't know his majesty's ears were 3 steps away. It's not just starvation, she went on. Those who rioted, those who tried to petition, they were all thrown into cells. I'm handling it, I said. Now. For Aries, I added in my heart. And for the coins I bled to save. Ethan didn't approve. Behave, leave it to me. My father slapped the table. I'll cut off his head. Aries shook her head. It's enough that you care. Please, think of a reason to leave politely. I must report back to Lord Huan and send you off safely. She didn't know Master Huan was studying which official would wield the execution sword when Wang Mian knelt at the block. With Aries' help, Wang Mian saw us off the next morning, wearing a smile that didn't touch his eyes. When he heard we were bound for Qin River country, he could barely hide his glee. Qin was rich, a crossroads of trade and nobles, decisively not the road to Tomjo. Wang Mian urged us south, again and again, swearing the eastern routes were waist-deep in floodwater and not to be taken. 10 li beyond Kuzhou, Ethan moved. His spies plucked out every eye Wang Mian had left on the road. Our merchant caravan turned straight for Tomjo, while a fast detachment raced south through the night toward the Lingnan barracks. Every order flowed from Ethan's hands, tight, clean, relentless. Cold crept in. Harvests had failed. The road's dirt spine was lined with bodies, some still warm, some already leathery and dry. Old men and widows, toddlers and swaddled infants. Skin pulled tight over bone. Even in death, their eyes faced Kuzhou. Refugees who had crawled this far never learned that the gates behind them had slammed shut on everyone. Kuzhou wouldn't let anyone in. My face went gray. I turned, emptied what little I'd eaten, tears blurring everything as the stench clawed up my throat. Ethan gathered me in and blocked my view. Claire, to the carriage. I gulped air, forced the nausea down and pushed his hand aside. I'm not that delicate. I gagged again. He rubbed slow circles between my shoulders. Hoofbeats. General Mu is en route with a Lingnan unit, someone reported. Do we enter Tomjo first? Ethan looked at my bloodless face, weighing me. At last, he said coolly, we wait. We do this right. I sagged against him, eyes closed, until a tug at my hem made me look down. A child, hardly higher than a pony's shoulder, skin hollowed between ribs, filthy hands caked with blood and mud, gripping my skirt. Please, some food. Ethan's arm tightened around me. When I glanced up, he was watching me, worried. It hit me. He was afraid I'd lash out at a child. A dull ache spread behind my eyes. Was that really what he thought of me? I sniffed, softened my voice. Sister has water and something to eat. Let go, and I'll fetch it. His arm went stiff, then loosened. I didn't look at him. I went to the carriage, wrapped hard biscuits in a handkerchief, and crouched to pass them over. I whispered, don't say they're from me. If others hear, they'll take them. I don't have more. The boy knelt and knocked his forehead to the dirt in thanks, then ran. I stared at the mud smeared over my skirt and felt nothing I knew how to name. My father had already sunk into a squat in the middle of the road, head bowed, silent. Claire? I turned away and climbed into the carriage. The curtain snapped down. I was angry, not at the dead, at Ethan, for thinking the worst of me, for assuming I couldn't tell right from wrong. He didn't call again. He stood outside a long time. Orders murmured. General Mu had arrived, and the wheels began to roll. We hit Tomjo at speed. General Mu dragged the prefect out of a brothel bed, trussed him like a fowl, and threw him into his own hall. The prefect, Zong Baiguo, was a narrow, hungry reed of a man. In a crowd of refugees you'd never pick him out until you learned the hunger was an act. Your servant Zong Baiguo kneels to his majesty, he babbled, hands bound behind him, kowtowing like a feather duster. I did not know the emperor had come in person. I deserved death. My father's face was stone. He snatched up an inkstone and smashed it into Zong's forehead. You do deserve death. I am not being polite. I'll take your head today. Blood bubbled down Zong's face. He wailed. I was forced. Lord Wangmian forced me. He was no fool. He produced every scrap of pressure and bribery, crying louder. Wangmian has a patron. I had to obey. But I was clever. Clever, my ass. My father snapped. Zong spluttered phlegm and continued. I can't carry all the blame. I have proof. The orders came from above. Who? My father's voice was low and hot. I dare not say. He hunched. My father came down the steps in 2 strides and kicked his shoulder. Idiot, you died today. What are you afraid of? Zong rolled like a cocoon, then crawled back and slammed his head to the tiles. It was the princess. Silence. I stared into air. Perhaps I'd vomited away my brain on the road. Which princess? I rasped. Zong hadn't recognized me. This dull servant only knows there is but one princess in our dynasty. Me. I'll kill you. I sprang to my father's side and kicked Zong's other shoulder. He tumbled again. Open your dog eyes. When did I order you to steal disaster funds? He wet himself. Mercy, your majesty. Mercy, princess. Since it's a family matter, if her highness returns the silver, all is well. How did it become my bill? I hauled him up by the collar, fury blooming like fire. Claire? Ethan drew me back. Let me handle this. I did nothing. I jerked free. I'm not leaving. My father pressed his brow. I don't believe my daughter did this. He, and only he, knew half that fund had been my private donation. But crowds swallow truth. Witness and politics are different beasts. Investigators ran back from Zong's residence with ledgers and a small bundle of letters. They whispered to my father and to Ethan. Both turned to me. Careful, complicated. I bristled. What now? A long silence. My father said, Claire, there's your signature here. The ledgers appear genuine. The color drained from my face. The trap snapped shut. Ethan stepped toward me. I stepped back. Ethan, it wasn't me. Claire, go back to the post station. You don't believe me. Listen to me. I slapped his hand away. The blow left a red bloom across his white knuckles. Don't touch me. Look at me and answer. Do you believe me? His clear eyes burned and reddened. He closed them. Guards. Steel rang as armored men sealed the hall. Light off their blades stabbed my eyes. Arrests. Take Zong Baiguo away for decapitation at a later date, Ethan said, voice like ice. He bowed to General Mu. Her Highness is unwell. Please escort her to the post. Not prison, but a soft cage. Even my father said nothing. Cold climbed my ribs. Abandoned? That was the only word that fit. Ethan knew me enough to spare me his own hand. Anyone else could have dragged me out and I would have fought like a cat. But General Mu looked like a blunt, honest man. I didn't make it harder. I walked. Outside, the street was kneeling bodies wall to wall. Gaunt faces lifted. Hope and hate tangled, refusing to be driven back. Your Majesty, hear us. The princess is a tyrant, bleeding the people. Save us. My feet stopped. I looked up at the blocked gate and felt my limbs fill with lead. A nursing mother knelt, weeping. Spare Prefect Zong, Majesty. He's a good official, ruined by the princess. They say she's wasteful, cruel. She doesn't care if we live or die. She brings ruin, unfit to be human. If the law is just, let the princess die. A roar took the words and made them bigger. Die. The princess should die. Their faces were knives. Each syllable cut me. Enough, don't say more. Tongzhou's wet cold ate into bone. My nose burned. For a stupid moment I ached for capital snacks. Flaky plum cakes, lacquered pork, squirrel fish. What had I done? I'd turned silver into mercy, and all they wanted now was my head. Miss, this way. General Mu had dropped my title. A narrow side gate waited. They believe rumors. Don't take it to heart. His words pricked tears to my lashes. Thank you, I said. Wind scraped my cheeks cold. I wiped them, and my palm came away wet again. Let's go. I hadn't eaten. The jolting ride to the post made me retch bile. General Mu sent in a few capable local maids. I refused. I wanted no one. Dusk thickened. Furniture turned into hulking smudges. I didn't light the lamp. I didn't call for water. I curled into the bedding and hugged my knees. Charles. A shadow stood outside the door and listened. "Check the thief ledgers," I said, eyes shut. "Last winter, the shipment that vanished on its way to the capital. I'd needed coin in a hurry. Goods from my thief had been ambushed en route, the messengers and my token gone." "I cannot leave your side," Charles said, dutiful as ever. "Go," I whispered. "If my name isn't cleared, I won't live." Skimming funds for disaster relief was a hanging crime. Prove innocence or die. I'd never cared what the capital thought of me. But this time, someone had to believe me. If no one did, I would do it myself. I pulled the quilt over my head and cried. Night in Tomjo was endless. I wore it down until sleep finally took me. When I woke, the shutters were tight. The room was dead quiet. The mirror showed a ghost. White face, cracked lips, bird's nest hair. No princess at all. Love is a wicked word. Light feet pattered outside. "Miss, are you awake?" a maid chirped. I hummed. She slipped in, 15, round-cheeked, and started talking at once. "It snowed last night. Master told me to add a quilt, and look, so many sweets, I've never seen pastries this fine." She was poor, easily pleased. She tugged the quilt higher around me. The table steamed with delicate cakes, sweet and hot. I thought of General Mew's honest face and sighed. He'd done more than he owed me. "How's the yamen?" I asked, biting my lip. "They dispersed the crowd," she said, eyes glued to the pastries. "They agreed to go?" She shook her head. "Not at first. Then a lord came out with a sword and slit the ringleader's throat on the spot. The rest got scared." She shivered. "Second sister-in-law Wang says he looked like a god of death, covered in blood. One look and your legs go weak." I pushed a cake into the girl's hand and one into my own mouth and chewed slowly. I didn't ask what the god of death looked like. Or what he wore. I didn't want to know. A knock. Aries poked her head in, then stared at my wrecked face. "Are you all right? I saw them haul the prefect away yesterday. Are you officials from the capital?" She'd been dumped at the post as soon as the arrest started. She'd only seen the edges. I said nothing and waved her in to eat. She waved off the plate, twisting her handkerchief. I came to say, yesterday, when we entered the city, I think I saw Wang Mian's men. I think they saw me." Her fingers mangled the cloth. "Will he come here?" I stepped out to find General Mew. His men said there was a riot in the south of the city. He'd ridden out, leaving only a handful of experts to hold the post. Uneased nod. I slipped a coin to a quick-footed boy and sent a note to the yamen. And waited. Night dropped. I lit the lamp, crawled into bed and hugged the quilt, sleepless, mind racing. Had Ethan not received my message, or had he received it and chosen not to come? What of my father? Did he do nothing? Or had the crowd turned the yamen into a siege? My chest tightened. Just past the second watch, the window clicked softly. The small sound made my skin pebble. I turned. The shutter opened a finger's width. A pair of cold, feral eyes stared in. The gap widened, revealing a grin split to the ears. Wang Mian's rough, oily voice slithered in. "If the princess travels in plain clothes, why not tell me first?" My stomach dropped. He knew who I was. I flung the quilt back and ran for the door. "Help, thief." I'd been crouched most of the day. My legs were useless. I stumbled, crashed at the threshold, and clawed forward, only for a thick, calloused hand to clamp my ankle and drag me back. "Help!" His palm slapped over my mouth. The reek made my eyes water. "Such a rare meeting," he crooned. "Let's keep it pleasant. It's late. Don't wake the neighbors." Boots pounded outside, shapes filled the court. I bit down on his fingers and tasted blood and filth. He jerked and flung me aside. My elbow smashed the sill. Pain burst down my arm. "You filthy," he backhanded me. "Don't push your luck." I spat blood. "Men are outside. You won't get away." His rage melted into a warped smile. "Men are here, yes, but the one who won't get away is you." Brutes shoved through the door, eyes crawling over me. "Boss, everyone's done," one leered. 2 women left and a little maid. "How do we split?" Laughter. My heart sank. Ethan hadn't received my message. Wang Mian licked his torn knuckle and pointed at me. "She lives. The others, do as you please." "Boss, she's the princess, all soft and fresh. Let the brothers." "Get out," he snarled, filth spilling from his mouth. "Once I put on the yellow robe after killing the dog emperor and the dog official, I'll have any woman I want. The little one next door will do for now." I hurled a pillow at his head. "Coward, come for me, leave the girl." He knocked it aside and crouched. "Ah, our princess cares for her people." He spoke. His men giggled. "No need to fret," he added. Your husband and father are tied up, we have time. He watched my face and bared his teeth. You wear your thoughts like a mask. They underestimated me. Thought 200 men would be enough. If I dared to touch the disaster funds, princess, of course I had a backhand. Stop guessing. A cold thought rose in my throat. You've kept arms. His eyes lit. He patted my tangled hair. Smart. With soldiers and a city of starving men ready to bite, your father and Ethan won't walk out. I rammed my head into his ribs. He squawked and toppled onto his backside like a flipped turtle. Treason, I said. You're dead. Humiliation darkened his face. His men had seen it. He slapped me hard, fisted a handful of my hair, and dragged me to the bed. I thought to treat you well. You chose the hard road. I clamped my fingers over his wrist, breath ragged. One question. Let me die knowing. Time. I needed time. He thought I was trapped. Ask. How did you get my signature? He sneered. Last winter, a merchant from your fief drank with me. He bragged. I didn't believe him, until he had an accident and we found a token. The master above me bit down on your name. March under the princess's banner to right the wrongs. How perfect. His mouth twisted. And I had a tutor for the accounts, good enough to copy hands. If that rat Zong hadn't sold me out, I'd be home with wine and music. Bah, I mustered a smile. Dog eats dog. Either way, you die, he said softly. Better I strike first, he grinned wider. When I'm emperor, I'll make you a consort. Princess to empress, what a story. Dream on. Noise thundered outside. I laughed. He heard it too. A guard burst in, stinking of fear. Boss, they're inside. Impossible. Wang Mian roared. There are 200 men. Once the dog emperor and Ethan are chained, the rest. The man wet himself where he stood. I saw him. Ethan Yan, he's gone mad. 10 paces, corpses everywhere. He's coming. You touched his woman. We're dead. Run. A knife flashed from Wang Mian's sleeve and buried itself in the man's brow. He seized my throat, eyes poisoned. You're his treasure. If I hold you, he'll crawl. He tore my robe and clawed at his belt. Kill a man's heart, ruin him first. Bile surged. I vomited all over him. He hit me again and pinned me. Fear blew my chest open. I thrashed and sobbed. Ethan Yan, where are you? If you don't come, I'll smash my head and die right here. The door and windows exploded inward with a single crash. Wang Mian's bulk jerked. His eyes flew wide. He collapsed toward me, mouth foaming. Heat bloomed across my chest. A sword tip pushed through him, slick and red, and bled onto my torn clothes, onto my skin. Hands ripped Wang Mian away. Light roared in. I flinched. A tall, familiar shape filled the space. A warm, wet palm covered my eyes. The metallic stink was overwhelming. Claire, Ethan's voice shook. Close your eyes, Don't look. I couldn't speak. I trembled in the dark of his hand. He wasn't steady either. The palm over my eyes trembled. The arm around me trembled. His words trembled. Cry. Please. Cry. I'm here. A beat. Then a hiccup. Then sobs. I'm sorry, he said over and over, crushing me to his chest. I'm sorry. I'm late. You're late, I wept, choking. You don't want me? You don't want me. I want you, he said into my hair. I want you, Claire. I almost died, I gulped. If you hadn't come, I'd have split my skull on this bed. I won't let him have me. Only he deserves death, Ethan said, stroking my back. He was rebelling. I shoved him away and wiped my eyes. He kept soldiers. He had men in the capital. He framed me. What I saw stole my breath. Ethan looked ruined. Blood spattered his face. His immaculate collars and sleeves were shredded. His chest was a lattice of cuts. His arm had slices deep enough to glimpse bone. Behind him, Wang Mian lay glass-eyed and dead. Outside, shouting swelled and ebbed. My father was finishing the board. Ethan's body went rigid. He slid onto the edge of the bed and blocked my view with his shoulders, suddenly unsure what to do with his hands. I stared at his wounds, swallowing tears. His voice was a rasp. We found it. The false books came from Pingnan Bo's house. His breath shook. You beat him. He hated you. He backed Wang Mian. He planned rebellion. He couldn't seem to stop. You're innocent. Claire, you're innocent. Again and again, as if paying penance. I reached up and wiped the blood from his cheek. Where were you? Chasing the trail, he said hoarsely. Why didn't you tell me? Silence. It took all my courage. When we return, I'll let you go. It was always like this. Ethan swallowed everything. I asked nothing. 2 bad habits marching side by side. The wall never came down. The misunderstandings multiplied. Let him go. He would be free of me. Free to chase what his bones demanded. And I would be free of the ache of trying to prove he loved me. The light in his eyes dimmed by inches. His lips trembled. He said nothing. He lifted me, carried me to another room, heated water, washed me clean with careful hands, rinsed himself, and tucked me into bed. I rolled to face the wall and kept my eyes dry until he opened the door. It closed softly. The tears came back in a rush, soaking the quilt. He'd left, not a word to hold me. A sigh floated from behind me, farther back than I expected. He was still at the door. "Claire," he said, voice low, "if I don't say this now, I may never get the chance." I lay still. "We grew up together," he said. "You've always lived like a spark, bright, unruly, fed sweet and gold. I never imagined you'd wreck your reputation for me. By feeling and by law I owed you," he went on. "But the Yan family is bad soil, frozen and unmoving. I didn't know if it could keep you alive. I thought, if you never found a husband, I would fetch you." Even so, when His Majesty offered the marriage, I agreed without a breath of hesitation. A wave rose beneath my ribs, so it wasn't only me. If he had refused, the wedding would never have happened. At some point, unknown to me, he had chosen me. "Yan is a still pond," he said softly. "So am I. There is too much I must do. I've trained myself to explain nothing. When you misunderstand, I think she'll know the truth in time. But I am scared now. If it happens again, I will break." He gave a crooked laugh. "When they laid the proof out, I panicked. Even knowing it wasn't you, my first instinct was to pull you free, bury the trail, pay what the books claimed with my own estate. It was selfish, hypocritical. I was terrified of your disappointment, terrified you'd leave. For the first time in my life, I felt love like a knife. Luckily, there was a thread to follow. Charles found it. Ethan did too. They pulled last winter's lost shipment from the dark, strand by strand. His voice shook. "Do you know how afraid I was when I heard you shouting for me at the post? You are so breakable. A finger's pinch leaves you bruised, and he stopped, swallowed. "If anything had happened to you, I would have gone mad." His footsteps approached. He knelt and gathered me from behind, arms cautious as if I might vanish. "Don't leave me," he whispered. "Please," he cried. Quietly, where I couldn't see, but I knew, I sniffled into the pillow. "Idiot. If I die, you can be a general." He buried his face in my neck and said nothing. I rolled over and held him, stroking his hair like a big, wounded wolfhound. So he was afraid too. "I'm soft. You can cry," I whispered, patting Ethan's back. "I already did. It's not shameful." He'd been ready to risk his head for me. Forge, cover, pay, lie, just to pull me out of a noose. What else was there to weigh? His arms tightened around my waist. He sighed against my hair. "Claire, you've got me. Completely." I snorted and then, disgracefully, sniffled hard. "Since I was 3, you just wouldn't admit it." Night in Tongzhou bled out through shouts and steel. Far off, dawn split the heavy clouds. Snow that had fallen all night finally stopped. The post station held its breath. No one came knocking. Ethan lay on the outside edge of the bed. I curled into him, peeled open his torn collar, and breathed soft air over the cuts. "Does it hurt?" He shook his head, voice rough. "Not when you do that." He hadn't slept for days, fought like a madman, then shattered in my arms and stitched himself back together. Now, steadied, he just watched me, answering only when I spoke. No courtroom edge, no barbed tongue, just quiet. My eyes prickled. I dabbed salve carefully. "You're a civil official. Why are you always fighting? It's hardly proper." He'd scolded me with those exact words 100 times. Today he only said, warm and mild, "Your lesson is correct, Your Highness." Oh, that sounded delicious. I told him about the post, about the bright little maid I wanted to take back to the capital. He listened, agreeable, humming now and then. When I sighed that we'd need the maid to wash the quilt, Ethan's face cooled. Wang Nian put his hands on it. "Throw it out. Travel has made me thrifty. General Mu sent it. It's a kind gesture," tossing it would. He froze. "You think he sent it?" I blinked. "The maid said a young master," I assumed. I stopped. The maid had said young master, not general. Ethan's jealousy had already leapt over the roof. It dawned on me. He'd crept over in the night, afraid I'd refuse if I knew, and smuggled in quilts and sweets. The girl had no idea who he was. To her, any well-dressed man was a young master. I tipped my chin and kissed the sulking man who'd just knocked over the vinegar jar. We'd been apart for days and had finally torn down the wall between us. One spark and the tinder leapt. Heat rose under my skin, then the soap sweet on the fresh quilt turned my stomach. I frowned. Ethan tensed. What is it? I waved him down, leaned past him, and oh no, vomited over the bed frame. He went white and before dawn dragged in a doctor. The old man felt my pulse, smiled into his beard and announced, "This is beyond an old physician. Tell the family to prepare for happiness." I genuinely thought he meant a funeral. Ethan's face drained further. "Who else can treat it?" he asked, frantic. 9 months, the doctor said, pleased with himself. No medicine required. Ethan stood as if lightning had struck him. Slowly, his eyes moved to me and lit. "Claire, you." All the stiffness melted out of his face. The corner of his mouth twitched up. He stepped forward, reached, then didn't dare touch. I kicked him lightly, smiling despite myself. "Your fault. Now the baby has to jostle its way home." He slid a hand under my ankle, tucked my foot back under the quilt, then sat on the edge and folded me up like I might break. "My fault. All my fault. His tongue tied itself in knots. I laughed and kissed him. "Ethan Yan. I'm noble now by virtue of our child. You'll have to spoil me." "Yes." "Does your face hurt?" "Why?" "What did you say the first time you met me?" "Not everyone has to indulge you." "You weren't wrong," he said quietly. "Not everyone, but from now on your husband will." Argument. I wouldn't dare.